Welcome back to another episode of Ask the Doctor with Dr. Jeffrey Sherman. Hello, Dr. Sherman. How are you?
Good, thanks. Good to be with you. Thank you.
Today, we're going to be going over more about immunity and also when we're going to be able to get vaccine shots. The COVID-19 statistics for today in America, January 21st, is there's 24.5 million cases of COVID-19 in the United States, and there's 405,000 deaths. Yes, we have surpassed the 400,000 death mark. Oh boy. Yeah.
That's rough.
Exactly. And so much of that could have been prevented, and so much more can be prevented with the vaccine, as well as mask wearing and staying apart like we've been having to do all these months.
Yeah.
So I know that you got your
It
vaccine.
works so much.
So I know that you got your vaccine a couple weeks ago, the second dose. And at this point, I'm wondering, is there some kind of vaccine rollout schedule that's in place for all of America, or is it more like a region by region basis?
No, I think it's for all. I think it's going to be followed generally by everywhere. How quickly or what phases each region reaches these phases is a different speed. But you had the healthcare workers, you had the first responders, the EMT guys, the firefighters. Now you're moving into people over 65. Then there's going to be some people a little bit younger with some health type problems. Then you'll get to people over 50. It'll go by age. Then you get to people over 30 and so on, based on the availability and how efficient the regions and counties are, and so on. So it's a stepwise fashion, but hopefully we can get most everybody done by, late spring, let's say.
Yeah. And I was kind of wondering as well, are they rolling out vaccines in a fashion where they're making sure that they get everybody in one group before they move on to the next group? Or do they do one group for a given amount of time and then they start rolling it out to more groups later?
I think it's that. I think the latter. I mean, you're doing it for amount of time based on the supply, and then if they get more supply, they can open up to the next group, even if even if there's still some of the previous group that hasn't come through yet, or even if it's time, if the supply will permit you, you can open it up to the next group, and so on. I think though they're guaranteeing. I mean, that's a strong word, but I don't think they would go ahead and give you the first shot unless there was the second shot available too. So If you go in today and get your first shot on February 16th, you'll get your second shot. That's already accounted for. They wouldn't let you get that first shot without the second shot being ready to go.
Yeah, that would be risky.
And then they got to reassess because then you're not vaccinated. It's a two-step process. We can get into that a little bit later on how that works, but you need the two vaccines to really make this work. One is not going to do it.
Mm-hmm. One question that came to my mind about the reminder that there's two shots. Why is it that this vaccine needs two shots, or maybe other vaccines also need two shots, but some vaccines only need one shot?
It's the type of antibodies that it produces. This one's not using the virus itself as an antigen. You're injecting, mRNA to form proteins, which are part of the virus, and then the body recognizes that part of the virus as something weird, and it makes antibodies to the whole virus. And that initial antibody response is the and not to get too technical or medical, but it's the IgM antibodies being produced by your B cells that get boosted when they see that protein. And those B cells are producing this antibody, and you get a good amount of immunity in the first 2 weeks after that initial shot in the arm. But B cells and IgM antibodies don't last very long, and then they'll decline pretty quickly. That's just, it's just, hey, this is a foreign virus. Let's get rid of it for the here and now. That's kind of how viruses work. But since we want them, and then you can move on in the form of in the case of a cold or a herpes or something else. That's an adequate response. But in the case for COVID, you need more of a sustained response as long as you can. So that initial burst of antibodies, which are good, they're nice and high, are not going to linger around enough to ward off the virus down the road. You get it for a month, but then after that, you're susceptible again. Not as maybe as bad as you could have been if you had not received the vaccine, but you're still susceptible. That's why you get the booster dose, and the booster a couple 3-4 weeks later, depending on which product you're getting, then it reintroduces that protein to your body, and the body's like, oh, hey, we've seen this before. You're going to come back again? Right. So the T cells then kick into play, and they make the longer-term antibodies. You still get some Bs, but you say, hey, we've seen you before. You're going to come back again. The T cells kick into play, and the T cells replicate, and the T cells say, okay, we're going to be around for the long haul in case this guy comes back. So with that second dose, it stimulates a different cascade of the immune system, and then your T cells kick in, and it'll produce a lot of IgG antibodies, which have a lot more long legs and lifetime, and they can stay in the body a lot longer and produce immunity. Then in a year, you may need another booster to prolong those T cells. Those memory T cells keep the blueprint of the virus in, and they can replicate themselves and be able to produce antibodies for the long haul.
This is really cool. Yeah. I think this is true. Is there a memory B cell as well?
Yeah, there is. I don't know exactly the context or which viruses or bacterias would be, but there are memory Bs and memory Ts. The T cell count, in HIV patients is that's a measure of how well the patient's doing. You want your T cells to be high. Those produce the antibodies, and they produce things that'll fight off the virus. So high T cells, good immunity. B, you get the Bs in the beginning. There may be some memory B cells, but I don't know how long those last. But there are some of those too.
One question that I actually had in the past week was, I kind of thought about the types of vaccines that we have available and that we take, and I think, and I'm not sure, you correct me if I'm wrong, that's why I'm asking, do we seem to have a lot more vaccines for viruses, and do we not have that many vaccines for bacterial diseases?
Right. Because viruses are harder to treat once they're in you. Bacteria's, antibiotics they can be pretty, treatable, and they have a little bit of a short, they respond more to antibiotics, and we've got a better grasp on the bacteria. Viruses, not so much. Not all bacteria have, antiviral medications. I mean, you got the herpes family, and you get that, and some other, and Tamiflu, I think, can ward off the flu vaccine. But there's not a lot of antiviral medicines to kill off the virus. So we got to rely on your own body's immune system. Therefore, you trigger it with the vaccine. HIV is really more of an anti-retroviral. You don't really kill the virus. You just prevent it from duplicating. And in HIV, you're preventing it from replicating. So then when the actual virus itself dies off, it hasn't replicated, so it keeps the actual viral load down. But it's still in there somewhere. You can't kill it all off once it's in you. But that's kind of how it works. But bacteria, we've done a lot more research on how to kill off bacteria, breaking the bacterial cell wall, preventing replication too. Just bactericidal techniques that we can get. And bacteria certainly is not a fun disease.
Right.
Infections are no fun, but we can get a grip on the bacteria with
All right.
antibiotics.
I guess that makes sense. We have antibiotics to treat bacterial diseases, so the need for vaccines are a lot less. And I think bacterial diseases also don't spread nearly as quickly as virals.
Right, right. It's not as it's not as not all of them are airborne or as easily spread, and just it's more kill it off, and you can't really catch it if you don't have the it needs like a host, and if you don't have that host, if you don't
Right.
have the open skin wound, or then it's not going to transfer.
All right. There's a very nice question from the chat. Since the mechanism behind this COVID vaccine is new, does it open the door for vaccines for other diseases that we don't have vaccines for right now, like HIV?
Yeah, they've been studying HIV for a long time, but yeah, I would think it's they've been working on this technique for HIV vaccine, and just hasn't caught on, or it just hasn't proven to be effective, or whatever. Just HIV does not have a vaccine.
Right.
But that's okay. There's good the oral forms of vaccine, preventative medications you can take orally. Remember, HIV is a different spread than this, so it
That's right.
doesn't spread across a community to involuntary patients, so to speak. It's sort of its own niche virus. So there's ways to prevent it in general, but in terms of a vaccine, there's some oral quote vaccines like the PrEP pill and the morning after pills and things that just prevent the proliferation of the virus if you happen to acquire it, which is more of a known choice, so to speak, than oh my God, I got it by accident, I have no idea how I got it, like the COVID vaccine, COVID bacteria virus.
Exactly. And I think researchers have been doing everything they can for the past couple of decades to treat HIV as well as they can. Like you said, they've tried to make vaccines, and they also have gotten very good treatments for it. So there isn't quite a vaccine for HIV, but there's probably the next best thing.
Right. The next best thing, I was just going to say, it's the next best thing. The oral forms of it, the initial medications were great, but even those have been done by the current sort of preventative everyday pills. It's not like a birth control pill for HIV. I mean, you take it every day to prevent. If you're going to engage in the risky behavior, you take this medicine every day. It'll prevent you from getting it. If you do happen to get it, you can prevent it from getting too rampant. And we just don't see the infections like we used to associated with HIV infection. When I was in medical school and internship, there was a whole HIV wing or ward for those particular patients. I haven't been over to that hospital in a long time, but I would think we don't need that anymore. Those infections aren't popping up due to the advent of the medications and preventative measures we have medically.
Right. Anyway, I think that's enough about HIV.
Yeah.
Because COVID-19 is the big, the big defining factor of the past over a year, and it's still gonna define our lives for the next like 5 or 6 months as vaccines are rolling out.
Yeah. But I urge everyone to get that vaccine. The websites are out there. Register, find an appointment time, drive up. There are a lot of drive-through vaccine stations. I know out here in California, Dodger Stadium is a nice facility. The parking lot out there, they've set up a lot of area. It's a big, wide area. You just drive up and get the shot and wait a few minutes and drive away. More than a few minutes. Wait about 15 minutes and drive away.
Right, to make sure there's nothing wrong.
I had a patient today who had it done there the other day. Said He got there early. That was when his appointment was, early in the morning, like at 8:30 or 8:15 in the morning. He got there. It was a lot of cars, a lot of traffic. It took him time to set it up, but once it got going, it was very smooth and efficient. He got his shot at around 9:15. He waited around, make sure there was no reaction in a holding area, and then they let him go at around 9:30, and he'll go back in a month and get the second shot, and it's looking good. He's over 65. That's the over 65 crowd.
Okay. So this is very nice. So there are websites, like you've said, and there's locations where people can go right now
Many locations.
and get appointments and get the vaccine. So it seems that if you're in the group, the demographic group that's qualified for the vaccine right now,
Right.
you are now capable of getting it. You just have to find a website. Do you happen to know the website link?
Well, it's the LA County Department of Public Health.
Okay.
So if you Google Los Angeles County Department of Public Health, or wherever your county is, Ventura County, Orange County, or whatever state you're in, whatever county you may be. But in California in particular, you Google the County of the Public Health. There's a vaccine. You click on vaccine information, and you'll answer some questions. You'll testify or attest that you're of the age that is available. Because if when you you're going to have to show your ID, and if you're trying to scam the system, they're going to turn you away, and you'll have waited in a line of cars for nothing, and they will do that. But you would test, and you get an appointment once you answer all the questions, and then they'll email you the confirmation, and then they'll email you a reminder about your second shot in a month or so, and you'll go and get that shot. Then they'll have your name on their computer when you get there. You'll show your ID, type it in, the shot's going to be ready. And then your arm is out the window, and they'll get you.
Okay, so that's how they do it.
Yeah.
So you're in your car the entire time. I guess that keeps it safe.
Yeah, you're in your car the entire time. There's no parking or walking. You're in your car. You're sort of socially distanced naturally by just being in your car.
Right.
And the folks outside will, there's tents and refrigeration set up. It's the Moderna vaccine up, at least at most of these, because they don't require the big freezers and things to keep the Pfizer keep the Pfizer one fresh. So the Moderna can be just regular refrigeration, and they have the Moderna there, and then they'll shoot you in the arm and give you a follow-up appointment and enter that in the computer. So like I said, they'll guarantee, I guess, everything short of a guarantee the next appointment will happen for you.
Is there happen to be any preferences between the vaccines for like hospitals or for people giving them out?
No, the data is the same. It's really just a matter of, can you hold the Pfizer vaccine in the cold storage? If you have the capability to do that, then you're going to get that one shipped to your facility. Cedars here does have that capability. So the Pfizer vaccine is in the really cold freezer rooms in the lower level near the pharmacy, supply room, and down in the deep freezer area. It can last a couple of days outside of those temperatures, but they're keeping it pretty much in there up until it's time to be used. But if you don't have that ability to hold it, then you're going to get the other one,
Moderna one.
But it's been about equal, as far as I know, distribution right now. And Johnson & Johnson's coming up with their version of it. I'm not sure if they're going to get rapid approval and all that by the end.
They're kind of a bit late.
Yeah. So it's going to be good.
Yeah, it is going to be very good. And in fact, we have a person who's curious. When will people be able to stop wearing masks?
That's going to take some herd immunity. That's going to get you're going to get 75 to 80% of the people vaccinated if we can reach that. And the numbers, as we track the numbers through the spring and early summer, you might be able to start pulling back on some of those things around then. I would bet, though, with the way things are shifted, and we got some new leadership up there now, which is good. I think folks will still be urged to wear masks through the first, through the summer and into, right around September. We can start to peel back on those and see how the kids do in school and so on.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That is actually a very important point. The vaccine is technically approved for children?
It's not. There's some studies about that, but we know that I mean, the statistics show that it doesn't. A, it doesn't affect children in the numbers, and B, if children get it, it's not as severe. There have been a few, outlier incidences of some childhood conditions or this, inflammatory condition that's rare and some kids have gotten. So that's still lingering out there. But the under 18 population is still very, much sort of protected, and there haven't been a whole lot of kid
True.
cases. There have been. It's been not so much in terms of manifestations or symptoms.
Right. The under 18 population they handle the disease a little bit better. They don't get the disease as severely, and so the demand is a little bit less for the vaccine for them, and it takes longer for the vaccine to get approved.
Right, and it's hard to find volunteers who parents will put their kid in these things, so it's hard to ramp these things up. But if the numbers get so low that it's still, we don't have to.
Right.
We can still open the schools and we can take step by step. Masks still may need to be, some people are going to be wearing masks voluntarily forever, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's actually a very good point.
Yeah.
I mean, people in other countries have worn masks already as a part of daily life, whether it's like the flu season or they're sick, they just wear masks. The U.S. is one of the outliers that actually doesn't wear masks normally.
Right. And I remember seeing, going to Disneyland once or twice. I remember seeing some Asian folks wearing masks there. I'm like, what are these guys doing? They're what's going on? What are they doing? But they were the smart ones.
Yeah. I mean, it's very protective. And in fact, speaking of them, I happen to have a KF94 mask from South Korea.
Oh, yeah.
And what's interesting about South Korea is that I believe their government has strict guidelines for mask production. And so their masks basically have to be good in order to be sold. And I have one that I got off of Amazon. Actually, this one's already opened. It's a neat little design because it has this flap.
Oh, yeah.
And so that means, I have it upside down. So that it can more easily fit on your face.
A little bit better.
Yeah, it does. And it's hard to wear if I'm wearing headphones. There's also these second loops. These second loops are tightening loops.
Oh, yeah.
So you put the mask on you, and these are the ear loops. The tightening loops will just tighten it around your face.
Tighten it back behind you, and you got the slack behind the actual one that keeps your
exactly. You don't actually have to wear the tightening loops on your ears. They're meant to just make the front part of the mask smaller, so it's tighter on your face. So if you move your jaw, it stays firm. It's really comfortable, actually. I really like them.
Yeah, what are those? Those are not cheap. They're like $25.
I don't know. I'm actually not the one who purchased them. In fact, we posted a YouTube link in the chat where this person named shoot, I forgot their name. Aaron Collins. Mm-hmm. He's an engineer, and he has worked in medical. He's worked in medicine, and he did a YouTube video where he compared a bunch of masks, common ones that people have used, more rare ones, including these ones. And he put them through all kinds of tests of filtration and endurance and everything. And these were very good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, those are good. I've seen those in the community, and they are pretty good.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I've been wearing the usual surgical mask. Depending on where I am, one has a little bit thicker feel to it than the other, but they've been fine.
Yep.
But these are good. They form that seal around there, and it's got the extra layer, and it's almost like an N95 in that regard.
Yeah, it is. It's just not like the structure isn't firm like some other masks, but
Right,
it's still capable of going around your face in a seal.
right. And what if a mask is more comfortable but a little less effective, overall you're probably going to get more use out of it because you're going to be wearing it more because it's more comfortable. Whereas an
Right.
N95, it's not comfortable, so you're going to be removing it as much as you can, and then you're less protected for more times of the day. So it's it's
Yeah.
a trade off, but you got to find that middle ground.
Yeah, comfort is a very important factor just
It is.
to mentally keep a mask on your face.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So,
All right.
but yeah, the mask is going to be in play for a while, and maybe
Yeah.
not mandated, but urged, and then forever, in my opinion. You'll see people
Yeah.
wearing masks at the grocery store. Certain people wearing masks at groceries. That's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
And they won't be looked at as crazy like they used to be.
I mean, it protects yourself, it protects others, and unless you have a job that requires your face to be exposed, like kind of like mine,
Yeah,
um, uh, you can block your face. I mean, blocking your face isn't a big deal most of the time. So if it
right.
protects from infection, then
Yeah.
yeah, people are going to do it. All right. Well, I think that's a really nice place to start to wind down and end off the show for today. Is there anything else you wanted to talk us about, Dr. Sherman?
Want to reiterate the vaccine, get it done. Be persistent on the websites. It's frustrating. You can bounce around from place to place trying to find an appointment, but be persistent because someone's got to get these appointments. So
Right.
stay vigilant with that. And each day, new appointments are opening up. So just keep trying, get it done. Let's make it so this virus has no host to live in,
Exactly.
and then it'll fizzle out, and then we can all, get back to normal.
Exactly. We have to eradicate. The ideal thing is to eradicate the disease by taking the vaccine, prevents the virus from basically existing, and then it's gone.
Yeah. If it has no host, it's got nowhere to go, and that's that.
Exactly. Let's try to write this one off like smallpox in the
Yeah.
history books. All right. We do these every week, generally on Thursdays at 5 p.m. If you happen to be in the LA area or through telemedicine, you can set up an appointment with Dr. Sherman. His office phone number is in the chat, 310-659-9600. And the email is also in the chat, towergastro@gmail.com. If you have any questions that we couldn't get to live on the show, you can email us at myworldsciencetv@gmail.com. And until next time, stay safe.